Hello, and thank you for joining us for our webinar today, Time Management, the Surprising Secret to Fundraising Success. My name is Pearl Hoagland, and I am the Senior Program Manager for the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy. Time management is such a personal topic. Our goal today is to help you get started on reimagining how you manage your time specific to your role as a fundraiser, so that you can continue to support your organization, steward your donors and leadership, and manage the demands of your personal life. Before we get started, a couple notes. This webinar will be conversational with the opportunity to ask questions during the webinar, as well as a Q&A following the presentation. Please submit any questions you have in the questions box using your GoToWebinar control panel. In the days following the webinar, you'll receive an email with the slide deck and recording to review again on your own time. At the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy, we enhance fundraisers' skills so they can develop and sustain donor relationships to advance their cause in today's growing giving landscape through a proven contemporary curriculum presented by world-class nonprofit leaders, best-in-class faculty, and renowned philanthropists. We want to recognize our important affiliate partners who provide training and education to fundraisers nationally. Check out the map to find an institute in your community. If you are on social media, please give us a shout out using the hashtag #SIPWebinar and tag us. Now, I am very pleased to introduce today's presenter, Lenise Andrade. Lenise has 18 years experience as a nonprofit fundraiser with a variety of organizations. She is currently the Director of Development for Boys and Girls Clubs of San Diego and has led workshops on nonprofit management and fundraising for AFP San Diego, Nonprofit Solutions, Sanford Institute of Philanthropy, and other area organizations. Welcome, Lenise, and thank you for being here. And let's help her get unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pearl, for that kind introduction. And I just wanted to say how excited I am to be here and to be speaking with everyone today. You know, I got into this business as a fundraiser because no 2 days are alike, right? But because of that, it really can be easy to be distracted and taken off course from our daily and weekly priorities. And time management is also important to me personally. I found that if I prioritize my work and my personal goals, that leaves me more time to relax and have time with friends and family on the evenings and weekends. And that really, obviously, right now is more important than ever. So we can all benefit. And we do also want to recognize that everybody has a different work-home hybrid situation that they're dealing with right now. And so we're hoping some of these techniques can be helpful in assessing and dealing with whatever situation you're in this time. But to get things started, we wanted to go over objectives. Our goals today are to talk about cultivating a time-positive attitude, to help you develop a plan, to help you get organized, and to learn how to prioritize your daily and weekly goals. But first, we wanted to conduct a little poll. We want to get a sense, a read of the room and how we can help. So on average, how much of your time is spent on work versus family or personal life? Are you finding you're doing more work than spending time with your family, spending more time with your family than work? Overall, your time is balanced, or is there some other situation you're dealing with you can tell us about in the chat?
A poll should have launched on your screen, and we'll give about 10 to 15 seconds to select your response. Again, if you have another response, please add it to the questions box. All right, let's take a look at the results. Lenise, can you see the results on your screen?
I can.
Great.
So we've got some people who are in a good balance. That's nice. And some who are definitely spending more time on work. And you know, I know that things are really heightened right now for those of us fundraising for our causes and intense, but hopefully some of this time management will help you find more time with family. All right. So let's talk a little bit about time management. So these are some signs of some struggles that we're having, right? Working evenings to catch up on to-do lists. We're arriving late even to virtual meetings. Feeling frazzled throughout the day, and that can be other stressors than our work. Worrying about having enough time. Procrastinating, that's a big one. There's some struggles with that. And then really trying to figure out how do you prioritize what you're doing in your day. So these are some signs of time mismanagement. And one thing we kind of want to get clear right from the start, time management isn't about productivity and saying that you need to get more done. A productivity says that you are getting a ton of stuff done, and that's not what we're about. Time management is saying that we're going to get the most important stuff done well. And so today we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can prioritize the important things and recognize that we're not going to get everything, but we're going to try and get the most important stuff done well. So the first point is to really cultivate a time positive attitude. And part of that is really getting a sense of understanding that we are putting our what's the most important goal, right? So for us, it's donors. So we are prioritizing donor interaction because we know that individual donors are the source of 75% of all donations nationwide. So they really need to be our priority. So we need to be making sure that we're scheduling those calls, returning those emails, and reaching out to prospects as much as we can every day and throughout the week. We also need to be thinking about how are we communicating, both as an organization out to our constituents and our clients and our community, but also internally right now, right? With everybody working from home, can we schedule a phone call as opposed to 10 emails? That doesn't really solve the problem, right? Or are we scheduling, weekly check-ins with our staff just to get over the big tasks and making sure that everyone's on target for the week with our goals? As scheduling everything is, and we'll get to more of that later, can be really helpful in making sure that we're staying on track. And then lists, looking at, again, through our communications out, if you aren't segmenting yet, how soon can you? Can you start segmenting your list? Is there someone on your team who can help? Even more so is, can this be a learning experience for someone on your team? One things I've struggled at over the years as I've moved up in my career is the importance of letting other people try new things, not only for your own sanity, but also that it gives them professional development, which I'm very much about. So being able to really think in terms of who on your team can be helpful in getting you more targeted in your communications. So getting organized. So we're going to really cover some specifics here, but the main goals here is to really understand that we're going to try and control our interruptions and conquer our clutter. And interruptions and clutter mean many things in this world. So let's get to that. So first of all, there are 3 types of interruptions, and then we're going to suggest some ways on how to keep you a little more organized with them. Our first type of interruptions are people, and I love people, don't get me wrong, but we have to prioritize in our day who are the people that we need to communicate with first and foremost. So donors, absolutely our first priority. Some of you may be taking cell phone calls and have your donors and board members on your cell phone so you can tell that they're the ones who are calling. In some cases, maybe you need to schedule a phone call with them on a regular basis. However you're doing it, making sure that you have them on your calendar throughout to touch base with, and if they do call, are you in a space where you can answer that phone call and be focused on it? And we'll get to physical space in a minute. For coworkers and volunteers, right now, can we find a way to schedule those communications? Again, going back to setting up a weekly check-in with your team so that people can ask questions. I know I have a one-on-one with my grant writer once a week to go over that. My boss has a one-on-one with me once a week to go over heightened questions right now. And then when they call throughout the rest of the week, maybe let it go to voicemail and set aside a time that you can return those calls. Same thing with volunteers. We're all trying to figure out ways to help at this time. and volunteers, well-meaning, you know, maybe not necessarily the most priority person that you need to talk to in throughout your day. So schedule time when you can get back to those voicemails and emails. And then family and friends. I will say that I know that people are reaching out a little bit more right now, which is great. But I did get a call from my cousin yesterday midday, and I answered the phone only because she has health situations and I have to check in on her. But about 2 minutes in, I realized this was a social call. So I had to, you know, politely say, you know, that I was full time and it was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and that I needed to get back to work. So, you know, being realistic with your family and friends, and, you know, saying just because everyone's home right now doesn't mean you're not working. You still have work hours. You're still on a 9 to 5 schedule. And, you know, being clear about that with your family and friends, and letting them know that you need to focus on work during work hours. So the next group of interruptions is paper. Oh my. So paper means, we have it in quotes because, you know, back in the day, these were memos, physical paper distractions, but right now it's all about email, right? So we want to make sure that we're setting time to get through that clutter of email and other messages. So one thing that I do is I schedule at least twice a week a time that I just put as admin. I usually do it first thing on Monday and then like midday on Friday, just to clear out those sort of extraneous emails that I need to get to that aren't pressing, just to clear out all of those Chronicle Philanthropy and Nonprofit Quarterly emails that I hadn't read or gotten to yet. If I haven't looked at it in a week, chances are it's not vital. Also to, you know, do administrative tasks. If you're a manager and need to approve time cards, you know, that's on my schedule. Doing our credit card statements, things like that. You know, putting it on your calendar as a chunk of time to get through is really helpful, because then it's not something that's nagging on you and distracting you the rest of the time. When it comes to newsletters and campaign materials, scheduling that time as well. So one of the things that we did internally for us is we created a communications calendar for this whole quarter, knowing once we were working from home that April, May, and June were going to be heightened times of communication. So we have a calendar every week that we go through as a team to review when our emails are going out, and then I just backtracked when I need to write those emails, those e-blasts. And one of the things I do is actually schedule a couple of slots for that, so that I can make sure that I have plenty of time to work on it. And then the same thing for, we just launched our appeal campaign right now, our relief fund. So we're working on that, and so that's scheduled into one master calendar that everyone can share. So if there's a way that you can figure that out, that's helpful. And then making sure that you're reviewing and adjusting it regularly. You know, and things might get nudged or bumped a week or two here or there, you know, as things change for all of us. But being up to date on the schedule and making sure that everyone is aware of the schedule is really helpful. When it comes to reports, you know, one thing is also being clear with your staff or to your boss, you know, what a reasonable time is to create those reports. Are these a weekly report that needs to be done? Is it bi-monthly? And then again, scheduling time on your own calendar to get those things done. And if we're finding that it's not a realistic schedule, having an honest conversation with those that report to us or that we report to about how maybe the report itself is something that's a little too complicated, or what's the meat of the matter that we really need to know, and making sure that that's clear. And then next, for projects, getting, you know, I keep joking that I'm in meetings all day, and so I don't have time to do the things that I said I would do, you know, 2 meetings ago. But one of the things that I make sure, though, to do in order to tackle that is to have time set up to tackle the project. So going back to the appeals, if I know that an appeal letter is due on Monday to my boss, then the week before, I make sure I block off 2 large chunks of time to work on it. And the first chunk is the first draft, just to get it out, just to work out the bugs. And then I set up a second time to come back to it, just so I can sit with it, let it marinate a little bit, get my ideas going, and then make sure that we have some time to review it before we send it. And then making sure that others that are involved in that process have that on their calendars as well.
Lenise, we just had a quick comment that I wanted to share. One of the participants mentioned that for all of their newsletters, PR and campaign solicitations that she receives, she has them auto-filed into email folders. So just a quick tip in case that works for anybody.
Yes, that's a wonderful, wonderful way to do it. Yeah, and so being able to make sure that it goes to those folders, and then you just deal with it later. And also, again, you'll find that, you know, if you've got 40 Chronicle Philanthropy articles from the last year, chances are the ones from October aren't necessarily relevant right now, and that's okay. You can delete them. It's fine. Don't feel so guilty about it. All right. And then our own environment and what we're dealing with day to day. And so this is a huge one right now, right? We're all working from home, and that work from home situation is different for everyone. And really the goal for you is to figure out what is the best space physically and emotionally for you to be in. So I know that for some people right now, they want to be in a, still feel like they're in an office. And for those of you who have an office at home, then there a lot of people are working in that office space. I myself am working from my kitchen table. But you know, being able to really figure out for yourself what is your most ideal space. And in that space, you know, again, going back to environment or calls. So what, you know, scheduling chunks of time to make calls out. So again, whatever space you're in, is it a place that you can have quiet? You know, I'm not working outside on my patio as much as I love my patio because I live near the flight path. So I don't need a airplane interrupting my donor call. As far as, you know, incoming calls, I keep my phone on silent throughout the day, but I keep it on my table / desk so that I can see if this is something that I do need to answer, or can I send it to voicemail, and then blocking off the chunk of time of when I'm going to return calls. Visual distractions, so your desk, you know, people who have known me in the past know I am a piler. I am a piler of papers. But one habit I did get into in my office, and I've continued here, that I only keep the files on my desk, the papers on my desk of the things that I need to deal with that day, and the other things that are going to be dealt with later in the week or another time are kept visually away from me. Same thing with our desktop too. So we're talking about our desk, right? Whatever that looks like. But our visual desktop on our laptops, close those screens, hide them, you know, keep them hidden while you're working on the thing. When I'm writing, I only keep Word open, and I'm working on Word, and that's it. You know, turn off your notifications, mute them, silent them, whatever it is, so that you can focus on the task at hand. And then also being comfortable. So for me, lately, honestly, it's been yoga pants and t-shirts, but I also work for the Boys and Girls Club. We're pretty much always jeans and t-shirts, right? But then for today, you can't see, but I put on a nice blouse for you guys. Just because it made me feel a little more like a presenter, and helped me in my workspace. So I do know some people who have gone all in on the PJs and ponytail, and some people who are still dressing up every day because that makes them feel more productive. Whatever it is that you feel is going to work for you, please take advantage of that as much as you can. And then we do have a short note here for staying hydrated. And then I will add, I do have a bit that reminds me at every 15 minutes to get up and walk and take a stroll. And for me, that means just going on my patio and taking a breath and think about what I need to get done in the next hour. So, you know, and maybe refilling my cup of coffee. Having that little bit of a pause to take care of ourselves personally will help us really be productive in the hour ahead. So in prioritizing your day, you know, I'm a strong believer in to-do lists. I have my weekly to-do list, and then my daily to-do list. And, you know, we'll go into more on how to prioritize that. But one of the things that with your to-do list is looking at what's the most pressing item that you need to get that done first, what items really can be done anytime this week or month, and which ones are a matter of nice to do at some time. So one thing you can do is really just making a list of those items and then try and organize them by this ABC method. So we're going to do a little community share and ask what some of your ABC priorities are right now. Pearl, do they do that in the chat, I'm guessing?
Yes, so feel free to add that into the questions box. I will read them as they come in. I can share just from when we've done this session in the past, some of the ABC priorities. Obviously, A is often a call with a donor, an email to a donor, or any type of outreach or cultivation. One that just came in, call donors to renew gifts, absolutely. A, annual report. Let's see what else we get in. Writing reports. A, schedule Zoom calls with donors. Oh wow, now they're really coming in. C, prospect research and master copy. Balancing immediate cash flow needs. Just let me know when to stop, Lenise. A, program and user virtual meetings. Let's see what else we have. Thank you letters.
Oh, these are great.
A lot of different thank you types. So recorded thank you video, that's a great idea. Anything my manager places in front of me. Membership mailing. We have a ton of answers, so I apologize for not being able to get to everything. Communication planning.
No, this is great.
Yeah, great ones.
Yeah, great. So I'll share that for myself, we just launched our what we're calling our relief fund to help us with the Boys and Girls Clubs have been closed since mid-March, and so we're trying to work towards reopening in June, sometime in June, no date yet. And so we launched a relief fund, and we're able to get the board to create a matching challenge, which is great. So that was launched on last Thursday, and then the appeal letter is going out tomorrow. So I've been doing a lot of writing, so that has been my priority. And again, just backtracking of when do I need to get my copy to my boss to approve the copy, then to our designer to make it pretty for print and email, then reviewed again by me and my boss, before the hit send execute button. And so being really thoughtful and allowing the time to calendar that has been a huge goal for the last few weeks. But I mean, we were planning this. I created an appeal timeline, I want to say in April, and we launched, mid-May. So really taking the time to plan ahead and think in long terms. And that calendar is a 6-week calendar. So really having, thinking big picture, but then every week recognizing what is it that needs to be done this week and what needs to be done today. All right. So again, creating a large to-do list, right? So what is your master to-do list? What is your monthly to-do list? What needs to be done this week and what needs to be done today? So one of the things that I do is every year I create a development plan with my boss to go over our priorities for the year. And those are more general. This is, we're going to work specifically on stewardship and growing our donor base, for example. Then I create with a development calendar that is by quarter, and it shows all of our activities by source by quarter. So what are we doing with grants in this quarter? What are we doing with events, communication, stewardship, donors, etc. And then that way we check it and update it regularly. So that becomes sort of the master calendar for the year. In my work office, when I was there, I also have a 3-month calendar. I use the 3-month wall calendar, so I can get a sense of what are the priorities for this month, but also what just recently happened and what's coming up ahead in the next month. And then for my physical, I use a passion planner for my weekly calendar and monthly calendar, and I also keep it on a phone. So my phone and my apps help are more so for notifications, so that as I'm in my day-to-day, I do have, the note, oh wait, I have this 10 o'clock meeting that I need to jump on, or I need to, okay, I need to stop reading emails and focus the next 2 hours on drafting my appeal, things like that. And then recognizing also that this is going to be adjusted, right? So really, what is your priority for your day? go through the day, and then as you're finishing up the day, you know, if 3 things got done that day, that's amazing, that's huge. And there's 3 things left, don't beat yourself up. Prioritize what needs to happen first the next day, you know, and go from there. And you'll find that if you're spending more time on the priority items and you're successful at it and it feels good, you're going to find that you're going to want to keep getting that feeling every day, right? It's that endorphin trick. You know, that little bit of success really reminds you that this structure is helpful in meeting your daily goals.
Lenise, we just had a question for clarification for you. Someone asked if you could repeat the information about the development plan.
The development plan or the development calendar? I'll give them a second.
See if they respond to clarify what they were asking for. Development calendar.
Development calendar. Okay, so I created this. It's basically like a table. It's a Word document in a table. Each page is a quarter, and on the top it has each of the months. And then when you go along the rows, it's the source. So, you know, one line is grants, or, well, I do foundations. One line is corporate. One line is government. One line is events. One line is major donors. And then when you go along the grid, it's what are you doing in June with each of those areas? What are you doing in July with each of those areas? What are you doing in August? And when we meet as a team, we all review that weekly. Well, before this, we were meeting every other week, and to make sure that we're just all on track of what we were doing this month. And it's just a reminder of sort of what everyone else has going on as a team. And it's also become a necessary right now as we're looking at rescheduling all of our events, because we traditionally have events in April, June, and August. And now we're having to shift everything around. So that calendar has become very important for us, so that we make sure that we're not moving everything to the same month in the fall, for example. Or if we decide to do a virtual version of one of the events, you know, do we need to keep it in August so that we can plan between now and then? So does that help? See if the
Yes,
person
they said thank you so much. And someone did ask if there was, they said, did you say there was an Excel spreadsheet or Word doc just before we move?
So that particular calendar I created in as a Word doc with a table. You could definitely do it as an Excel. I generally tend to only use Excel if I need to do math. So that's just, I guess, a choice on your part.
Here we go.
All right, on to the next section. So making a plan. So, you know, again, we talked about calendaring and making sure you're conquering your physical clutter and virtual clutter, controlling interruptions. Now about apps, you know, I just use the calendar function on my phone and iPad, but use whatever it is, and Outlook, whatever to use that you feel is helpful to you. I know some people love using the notes function on your phones. I prefer a physical to-do list, so I can, you know, cross it off. That's just my mentality on that. But whatever works for you works, you know, is what works best. So, you know, try it a few things. Try it for a week. If you don't like it, try something else. Calendar everything. And I will say, I'm a strong believer in open calendars so that everyone can see my calendar. And at the clubs, we also tend to put in our personal things. So for example, at the clubs, both my boss and I take advantage before all this of a pool. So we would put in that we were going to swim at a certain hour during the day. It helped me to actually stick to that and go to swim on my lunch break. But she put it in there so she knew that people knew not to try and schedule a meeting during that time. So it's up to you whether you feel comfortable enough with your team to put in your personal items. I would think right now too, with people juggling home and homeschooling and kids and spouses and partners, you know, putting in something like an hour of break or personal, hopefully you have that flexibility and have that, you know, can do that with your day. And also, even if it's starting at 5 and time, to say, 5 to 7 personal, and that kind of tells everyone else you're done at 5. If there's a way to put a stop to your day so that you can have a nice dinner with your family, please try and do that, because I think it's important. That's just been my own personal way of trying to lead my office, and hopefully some other organizations will get a better sense of the importance of that at this time. Finding your peak zone. We didn't really talk too much about that. Personally, I know I'm super weird in that I hit a weird peak from 2 to 4, and I know most people don't. They find that that's when they drop off. But that's when I try and schedule a lot of writing, because I feel, or something like spreadsheets, where I need to focus on it. I don't know. It's something that the coffee has just hit the right balance, and I'm not tired yet, but I do get a lot done in those hours. Some people, their peak zone might be right at that 9 and 11. So whatever it is that you find that you are feeling most productive and can have that quiet and focus, make that the time that you're doing your most important tasks. Conversely, I am it takes a while for me to wake up and focus in the morning. So that's why I do my admin duties that aren't as important and as are vital in the morning, so that it's just something I go through. I can clean out the emails, I can organize for the week, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to worry about it too much. And again, carving out the personal time. So making sure that you are scheduling the time that you need to for the tasks that you need to. And I just feel like this is so important right now with everything going on, is that we are trying to make space for that any way we can. I will say that I personally also too have been using some of my PTO on Friday afternoons, and my boss is fine with that I'm done at noon, and try as much as I can to be off the clock, off the computer at noon, and go run errands and relax and get a hard start to my weekend. So if you have the opportunity and have some PTO to do that, I would say, now's the time. Making sure that you're making time for yourself is very important. Delegate. This has been a hard one for me over the years, but I will say here's my little note about delegating. Delegating is not just about taking things off your plate so someone else can deal with it. It can also be a huge learning experience for that person you're giving the tasks to. One of the first organizations I worked for, I was the second in command in a 4-person shop, and my new boss came in and she suddenly handed me all of our direct mail. And someone else said it was it's too much for me. And so she told me privately, she's like, I can tell you're going to be good at it, and it's going to look really good on your resume. Which honestly, to this day, I still do our direct mail, and I had a great experience. I got closer with our CEO at the time, worked with a mail house. I learned so much. It was a lot to take on at the time, but I learned a lot from it. And it's now a great asset that I bring to organization, is my ability to lead, write, draft, edit, appeal letters, and direct mail pieces. And so, that was a huge learning curve for me. And so keep in mind, if there's something that you've been holding on to that you usually do, see if there's someone else in your team who'd be willing to take that on, and recognize that and if they're qualified, you're giving them professional development that'll help them in their long-term career. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then learning to say no. This is a hard one for me too as well. I want to say yes to everybody all the time, right? That's why I got into fundraising. I'm that person for the most part. But, saying no makes clear that you have boundaries. We're professionals. We are people for sure, but we all get work done. And being clear about those boundaries really makes it clear that you are a professional and you take your work seriously, and that you are someone to be taken seriously. And so if someone's trying to throw something on you that isn't part of your job function, it's perfectly fine. The other one so I get sucked into is like joining the fund committees and doing like the birthday parties and like things like that. Like, oh, well, fundraisers, they're party people and they do all the fun things. But right now especially, it's okay to not person. And also committees. I used to have 5 committees, and now I'm down to 1. It took 2 years to get there, but it's been very refreshing in my personal life, and I have more of a personal life now. And while it was a great experience to be part of all of those committees, you know, it's okay to say no. Someone else will show it. It's fine.
All right, thank you so much, Lenise. We have a lot of time for questions, which is great. So I am just going to get into it. We've already received a number of questions. For those who do have questions, please add them into the questions box and we will get to as many as we can. So first, Lenise, you know, someone asked about favorite apps, and then another suggestion, it was a great suggestion, was if we could do a quick community share and other folks can share some of their favorite apps too. So let's give it a minute or 20 seconds and let some folks throw in what their favorite apps are right now to manage their time.
Oh, that's a great idea, Pro. I love that. I'm not as knowledgeable on the time task management apps. So I would love to hear what people are using these days.
I wish I could say it was my idea. Okay, a few have already come in. Trello. Workflowy, I have not heard of that one. Others who have not yet used an app, so they are looking for recommendations. I know we use Monday.com, which is very helpful. I've heard a lot of folks say Asana is a great app. So, okay, so someone asked for me to repeat it. So Workflowy, Trello. There are a lot of folks saying Team Trello. And those are the ones that have come through so far. Oh, Talkit for note transcription after meetings. Todoist.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Asana. All right, looks like we have a good number. Oh, Slack, that's another one. Yes, and Teams is one that we use at Samford. And then just a reminder that this slide deck and recording will be sent out in a follow-up email, so you can actually access all of these again. So just before we move on to recap, we have Trello, Asana, Todoist, Workflowy, Slack, and then I believe that is what we have. Okay, moving on, we have some really great questions. There was a clarifying question. Someone asked if you had referenced some sort of Excel spreadsheet or Word doc. Does that ring a bell, Lenise?
I think they maybe were still asking about the development calendar. And if so, it's just something that I created. I mean, I'm happy to share it. I don't know. I can send you a blank one. It's not anything I've copyrighted or anything. It looks just like a regular calendar, month by quarter.
Okay,
and again, yeah. it's just a different row for each of your sources, each of your revenue sources, basically. So one row for major donors, one row for events, one row for foundations, corporate, government, and then communications.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, next we have, this was actually a question that was asked a while back. Do you file emails or just open, scan, and let them build up unread in your inbox?
Okay, so I am a strong believer in folders. I have worked with other people who don't have folders, and I don't even understand how you find anything in your inbox. But that's just my personal opinion. But I do know that that's not necessarily how everyone works. I also, though, am not someone who believes that you need to get to 0 on your inbox. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's I feel like that's a lot of pressure, at least for me, to get to 0. But I do try and keep them under 100. That's sort of my own goal on my inbox. And then what I do though is keep, when I'm going through emails, I don't read all of them, especially if they're like, the Chronicle Philanthropy, Classy, NP Quarterly. I just keep those closed for the most part. But if it's something I need to get to, I do keep it open on my desktop. But then if I'm working on something, I hide it at the bottom. So, Pearl and the team can attest to, they saw me close out a bunch of windows on my desktop when we were going through this earlier, because those were emails I needed to get to. The flag function, if you have that on Outlook, that's pretty helpful. Setting the due date on those can be really helpful. There's a lot of great Outlook tricks. I did learn also from another seminar recently that you can color code particular incoming. So like if I wanted to color every email from my boss in purple, I would know just to scan quickly and find all the purple ones. So there's different tricks that you can use with Outlook. I know that are really helpful in organizing. But yeah, pretty much the open email is the email I need to get to today, and it's on my desktop because I need to get to it today.
Great, and I can also share from my end that the done folder is wonderful. That having too many categories can sometimes be confusing. So having the key categories and then done, and so your inbox really is your to-do list. Okay,
right.
Let's see what else. Can you share? Oh, there have been a few questions about the Passion Planner, asking you to share more about
it. Okay, yes. So I'm not necessarily here trying to endorse a brand, but any weekly planner you have, this particular planner has a monthly section, and I'm also a strong believer in color coding. So if you open up my calendar for May right now, it has what are my work things are in blue, my committee meetings are in green, my fun stuff is in pink, and then my health stuff, workout, yoga, all of that is in purple. And so that kind of gives me the lay of the land for the month. And then every week, being able to block off the chunks of time, again, color coded, and again, putting in the personal and the work stuff and all of that on the same page. So then it gives me a sense. And then the Saturday and Sundays kind of becoming my to-do list of, okay, I need to, do dishes and laundry and work on the patio, but it also feels good to know that I get to do those things on the weekend. So I'm not working on the weekend, which is just, again, my own mindset. And then the Passion Planner specifically on the bottom has a separated section that allows you to have a personal to-do list and a work to-do list. And then a section that they call the space of infinite possibility, which is just random notes and ideas. It has quotes in there. So sometimes, or if I hear another quote, I'll just throw it on there. It's just more to keep myself inspired and focused. And I try and do my weekly calendar on Sundays. So Sunday mornings, I have a cup of coffee, I have the radio going, and then I, look ahead to what I have to do that week. And then I put it away so that Monday it's already organized when it's time to start working.
Great, thank you. All right, next question we have. Do you have any ideas for streamlining calendars? We have so many, and every time there is an update or change, it has to be made across multiple calendars. To clarify, our manager likes to have several types of project tracking documents, but the information needed is often so specific that it's hard to consolidate everything into one calendar.
Yeah, no, that's good. I would say having worked for several different types of bosses, and I will say, honestly, learn to appreciate shared calendars and shared folders. It took some time for me to get there. Having things by subject, I think, is really helpful. So we have a communications calendar that is all the communications. Our communications calendar is print, social media, our constant contact e-blasts, et cetera, so that it's all on one page. I'm trying to keep it as not cluttered as possible, as clean as possible, so that it is, you can have it on one page, see what's going on this week, this month, very much in the same way that a planner, a physical planner would be set up. If you need to be looking at grants, that's a different calendar and should be, in my mind, because then you don't want to be distracted by that when you're trying to keep it by subject area is how I've done that best. And also how we keep our shared drive, our server, if you will, keeping that organized. That's also organized by subject. I've walked into a lot of companies where everyone's folders is by person. So, Pearl has a folder, Lenise has a folder, Amy has a folder. I don't know everything that Amy does. What if Amy did 10 different things? You know, it's better if you can organize by subject and have a grants folder, have an events folder, have a communications folder. That way anybody walking into the job can get a sense of what those subject areas cover. And I tend to go by revenue stream, ideally. So that's, you know, and if you're trying to convince someone else of that sort of organization, being able to say that it's you know, it's for the ease of everyone, you know, it's for clarity, it's, you know, subject area, that can be helpful as well.
Great, thank you. This is a really interesting question. We talked a lot about task management apps. Someone asked an important criteria that is necessary for a task management app. So that's a really great question. Lenise, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If anyone has thoughts too, please feel free to share them. What's most important to you when determining what app to use?
Yeah, I think for me, it would be a matter of do I want to go back into it again? Am I going to open it? Am I going to use it? You know, I mean, think about how many apps we have on our phone right now. How many do you actually use? You know, I have 50 apps on my phone. I use like 10, I think, right, on a regular basis. The app has to work for you, and it has to be something that urges you to stick with it. So I, for my organization, tend to use paper, and it goes with me everywhere. But my Outlook calendar, and which is synced to my phone, is probably also like the main calendar that leads my life in reminding me where I'm supposed to be doing that day.
Yes,
So.
I understand that. I agree. It has to be very easy to use, easy to add and remove tasks. It has to be intuitive, but again, like you said, it's so personal. So it really depends on the person. The great thing is a lot of apps have trial periods. So you can try it out, see if it works. If it doesn't, try something else.
And I would say ask your friends. Pearl knows I'm a strong believer in networks and cohorts. You know, take a poll, do a Facebook poll amongst your friends, you know, see what they use, see what they like. You know, chances are if your friends and you are probably pretty similar in personality, and so if they like something, it may be worth checking out.
Agreed. Someone asked if your planner is electronic or hard copy. I can say for me, I actually prefer hard copy. There's something really satisfying about crossing off my task. And I will share one thing that's worked for me recently is I write my list every day. I know it's not environmentally friendly, so you can do this in an electronic format, but I write it, I cross off what I have to do, and I have 2 categories: need to do and nice to do. And this is on top of what we've learned today. This is just when you then look at the daily, that it helps me to think about, okay, these are the things that I'd love to do if there's time, but this is what absolutely has to get done today. So electronic or hard copy, really dependent on the person. What do you think, Lenise?
Yeah, I'm a hard copy, you know, planner, note taker, to-do list myself. I will say that color coding is also really important for me. So being able to see everything in blue is my work stuff, you know, green is the committees, pink is the fun. Being able to, and also because then I look at my week and I'm like, oh, I have a lot of work to do. Oh, but then I have these 2 pink fun things coming up this evening, you know, this week. That's really nice, just right for my state of mind. So you can do that also on your Outlook. You know, you can color code your Outlook. So again, that goes back to how much of that are you sharing, you know, with your team, but having those blocked off color coding just visually helps me feel better that there is some sense of balance to my week. You know, and maybe do I need to fill in more pink, you know, because I didn't have enough last week.
So we have time for one last question. This question is essentially someone who has a boss who is wonderful, is a workaholic. So are there any tips on helping to manage time, to manage your work time and retain that balance with personal life, especially considering a lot of folks, their personal demands have increased substantially with this, you know, in this phase. So that will be our final question so that we can continue with the presentation.
Yeah, I will say that for me, what I've learned, and it's because I have worked for workaholics, who answer emails and send emails on evenings and weekends, and weaning away from that culture, being able to not respond on evening and weekends has been really helpful for me. I work for an organization that does not encourage evenings and weekends, yet we do have some staff members who do send emails on evenings and weekends, and I do my best not to reply to them. And so it's going to be hard at first, because some people were like, well, did you see that email? Did you, they're gonna, that kind of feeds their need to be doing that 24/7. And honestly, I've made up stuff. I'm like, oh, I didn't have my phone on, or I, didn't, I was out on a drive, or I had to run an errand. Sorry, I missed you. And then, but I don't reply to it to the next day. I don't have notifications on my phone. It does not ding when I get an email from work. I don't have the same, I don't even have that screen open most of the time on evenings and weekends. And putting that own physical barrier has been helpful for me. But I also find that if you set a boundary of that, you're not someone who answers emails on evenings and weekends, then you tend not to get as many of those emails on evenings and weekends. And so while that may be difficult when that's your boss, I will say I have also had people who report to me that I've had to do that with, just because I'm trying to set that boundary for myself. So it may take some time of first maybe not answering it after 8 o'clock, and then maybe not answering after 7, then after 6, and then see how that goes. But trying to create a hard stop for you is important and real, and to try and create some sense that you have a personal life and that you're allowed to have one. So maybe just try that for a little bit and see how that goes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lenise. Thank you to everyone who participated in the Q&A. This was a great conversation, and it was so nice to see all the questions. Just a reminder again that you will receive this slide deck and the handouts in a follow-up email in the next week or so. If you would like to connect with Lenise, you can. This is her email and her LinkedIn page. Again, you'll receive this deck as well, or this slide as well, in a follow-up email so that you can reach out to her. Lenise, before we move on and close, is there one key takeaway that you want folks to walk away with after this presentation?
Yeah, and time management sounds like a really, hard, serious subject, but really for me, the main thought is that our time is limited, but our passion is not. Our job is to share our passion for the causes and communities we serve, and to ignite and inspire other people's passions so that they can give. And when you think of it in that way, then that time is never wasted.
Thank you so much, Lenise. Thanks for everything that you shared with us today, and the fact that it is just so relevant to what we're experiencing now is just the cherry on top, so thank you.
Of course. It will.
So I hope that we've left you wanting more. This time management is one of the chapters in our textbook, Cause Selling the Sanford Way, a guide to relationship-driven fundraising. You can learn more about time management, including the Gain a Day test, to see if it helps you take more control of your work week. The second edition is available on Amazon. You can go to causeselling.org to snag a free first chapter today. And don't miss our next webinar on June 17th, Plan Giving in a New Fundraising Landscape with Erin Jones with University of San Diego. Register today. Thanks again to our audience for your time and participation. To help us continue to improve our monthly webinar series and ensure that we are continuing to provide value to our audience, we would really appreciate if you could take a few minutes to complete our survey. You will receive it right after this webinar. We hope you are all safe and healthy, that you enjoy the rest of your day, and we thank you for all you do to better the communities in which we live, work, and play. See you on June 17th. Thank you.